are back on the hunt to find every single PlayStation 3 Platinum game released here in the PAL region. And let's just say this time, we got games. Again, folks, and welcome back to the PlayStation Platinum Trilogy. My challenge for 2025 is not only find every single PlayStation 3 Platinum game released here in the PAL region, but to finish the story and complete both my complete PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 Platinum PAL collections, all before the end of 2025. We have a lot of work to do, but trust me, this time we are crossing a lot of games off that list. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button and please subscribe, as I put new videos every Saturday night at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. Now, let's get Platinum hunting. Our Platinum hunt this time begins in Bury St Edmunds at the local branch of CEX. Now, I've had some pretty good luck so far Platinum hunting in CEX, but of course, whenever you visit any CEX store, you have no guarantee if you're going to find any Platinum games. And like I said, so far the CX gods have been kind, but that luck can only go so far. And to begin with, it isn't looking too good here. We do have a copy of Oblivion, which is a game we still need. But of course, remember, when we pick up Platinum games in CX, there's no guarantee they'll have the correct Platinum disc. Now, I am of course trying to find these with manual as well, but I'll settle for just the Platinum disc. Now, this is quite interesting. It's Infamous 2, but the Essentials version. Now, there's also supposedly a Platinum version of this game, but it's very hard to find, and is one I'm very much on the lookout for. I have a list of what I call tough Platinums, and these are games I'm trying to find sooner rather than later, as of course these are going to be some of the tougher Platinums to find. But unfortunately, this time, at the beginning of our Platinum hunt this episode, it doesn't look like we're having much luck finding any Platinum games here in CX, which we need for the PlayStation Platinum Trilogy. But this is just the first of many stops this episode, so hopefully our luck will change. No PlayStation 3 Platinum luck this time in Bury St Edmunds then, but it wasn't a bust. If you saw my last episode of Steelbook Hunting in CX, you would have seen that I found this absolutely incredible Need for Speed Shift Special Edition. Here we are, back from our Platinum hunt at CEX in Bury St Edmunds. And unfortunately this time, we didn't have any luck finding any PlayStation 3 Platinum games. And that is the luck of the dice. When you go into any CEX store anywhere in the UK, you are not guaranteed to find any PlayStation 3 Platinum games. But let's just say, sometimes you find all the Platinum games. And these are games which were found for me for the Platinum Trilogy by my very good friend Lucy, who visited her local CEX store. And let's just say, they came up trumps. There is a decent number of very good condition PlayStation 3 Platinum games in this bag right here. So let's just jump straight into these ones. So we have the receipt here, and we're going to have to do these in reverse alphabetical order. So first off, we have UFC 2009. I actually really enjoyed the UFC games around this time. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have a manual, but for £1, I'll just keep an eye out for a complete copy along the way. Next up, we have a pretty decent one I haven't seen before, Tekken 6 for £6. This one is, again, missing the manual, but this is the thing with Platinum hunting. These do have the same manuals as the standard version of the game. And I think this is a game I already have in my collection, so I do have a manual for that one. Next up, we have something a little bit strange. So we have Rainbow Six Vegas 2 and Rainbow Six Vegas 2. Now, these both came from the same store, but they are a variant. You can see one of them does have this fan pack on the side. And I'm not actively going after variants, but for £3 for both, I thought, you know what? It's a cool little variant for the collection. Next up, we have Gran Turismo 5. It's crazy. You can get one of the greatest racing games of all time for £2.50. Like, absolute bargain there. Then we have another fantastic game, Batman Arkham Asylum. Now, I also have on my list Batman Arkham Asylum Game of the Year Edition. Now, I have seen the PlayStation Essentials version of this game, being the Game of the Year edition, but not the Platinum version. So if you know if there is 2 separate Platinums for this game, let me know in the comments down below. Coming to the end of this giant bag, we have Just Cause 2. I absolutely love this game. I spent an entire summer hammering this game. I really, really enjoy it. I think it's the best of the Just Cause games. So I think that was the peak. It's all downhill from there. Then we have Gran Turismo 5 Prologue for £1. Absolutely crazy you can get such a good game for such a small amount. And finally, when we talk about massive games for a small amount, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves for just £1.50. Now you may remember in the last episode I did get this in a double pack, but that game was sealed, so now I have an unsealed copy that I can play. So yeah, massive shout out to Lucy for picking up this massive stack of PS3 Platinum games. Next up we have an eBay pickup, and at this stage of my PlayStation 3 Platinum collecting, I'm really trying not to use eBay to pick up PlayStation 3 Platinum games, because honestly, with a lot of these, I'm not sure which games are overtly rare and I'll most likely have to resort to eBay to pick up. But in the last video, I had a comment from a fellow Platinum collector who said this game right here was fairly hard to find, and I found a copy on eBay super cheap. I bidded, I picked it up because honestly, if it's a game that could be difficult to grab in the future, I'd rather grab it now. And that game is this game right here, Homefront. Now, I actually really enjoyed this game. I thought it was kind of a bit of a palate cleanser after the many, many years of Call of Duty we had all endured by this point. And yeah, supposedly this one is fairly uncommon to find. It's the Ultimate Edition, so it includes all the add-ons, so it's probably like the perfect way to experience this game. It is of course complete, and yeah, I really like the manual of this one. It just looks like an actual war manual per se. But yeah, not sure if this is one that is super rare or hard to find, but regardless, happy to get it crossed off the list, so thank you for the recommendation to grab this one ASAP. But when it comes to PlayStation 2 Platinum games, this one has been a real pain to find. And as a wrestling fan, it really pains me to have this missing from my collection. Now, to the best of my knowledge, this game was only released in France, and I have had bad luck trying to pick this game up. I've had orders cancelled, and this game, I presume, was lost in the post, as this took over 4 weeks to cross the channel to get to my house. And yeah, I'm just very happy to finally be able to cross SmackDown vs. Raw 2010 off the list. With that evil looking John Cena on the cover, very foreshadowing of today. And yeah, this does have the French, English and Swiss language. It doesn't come with a manual, unfortunately, but I'm sure once again I can pick up a cheap manual for this, as it is the same manual, and then I can have an English manual. But yeah, this is a surprisingly hard Platinum game to find, and means I have just one more WWE Platinum game to find to complete the Platinum collection for the PS2. Our next stop this time on a PlayStation Platinum Trilogy is Omegas Emporium, an independent gaming store in Attleborough in Norfolk. And this weekend they had a buy one get one free on all games under £6. And you know me, any excuse to go on a game hunt. So let's see if we can find some cheap bangers here at Omegas Emporium. Now they have an absolutely incredible selection of all games for all consoles, not just PlayStation 3. So I'm having a look at every single console while I'm here. And what better place to start than the PlayStation 2 section? Because of course there are still PlayStation 2 Platinum games which we need for the PlayStation Platinum Trilogy. And they had a really good selection of games here, including some Platinums I don't see very often. A really nice selection of PlayStation 2 games, but unfortunately this time nothing I even needed for the PlayStation Platinum Trilogy or just for my personal collection, because remember, I'm not just looking for Platinum games when I'm out game hunting. I'm looking for anything cool to add to my collection, especially for my PS1 collection. Now, of course, once again, we are still looking for a very small amount of PlayStation 1 Platinum games, but I highly doubt we're going to find these possibly anywhere in the UK. But you know, there's always gaps in my PlayStation 1 collection that need filling, and as it's buy one get one free on all games under £6, maybe we can find some cheap bangers to add to the collection. Games such as this, June. Now, there was a couple of copies of this game ranging from the £10 to £12 price depending on condition, but unfortunately all of these were missing the manual, so I did pass. This is an absolutely incredible RTS game for the people who made Command and Conquer, and one sorely missing from my collection. But back on the hunt for cheap games. Remember, it's buy one get one free on all games under £6, including this game right here, Rapid Racer. Now, I'm a fan of kind of these arcade racing games on the PS1. This is one I didn't have, so I'm going to pick that one up, as well as this game, which really should be in my collection, but I didn't have it, Worms Armageddon. To be able to get one of these games for free was a fantastic way to start our hunt here at Omegas Emporium. Now, this is an interesting game on the PS1, a game I've never heard of. My wife asked if I'd ever played Pax Corps. I have no idea what this game is, I've never heard of it, but my wife had a feeling we needed to pick it up, and honestly, I trust her judgment. As soon as my wife showed me this, I knew it had to be added to the collection. Death Trap Dungeon. And this thing was complete with all of the mail-aways, the manual, and even better, the bestiary, which had all of the enemies in the game. The artwork on this was absolutely incredible, so I had to have it for the collection. We've managed to add some awesome PS1 games to the collection. Now let's head to the PlayStation 3 section and see if we can tick any platinums off the list. And as always, there is an absolutely incredible selection of PlayStation 3 games here at Omegas Emporium. But the question is, can we find any platinum games we need for the PlayStation Platinum Trilogy? And it wasn't looking too good to begin with, and I nearly passed one of these games up. A game which I presumed wrongly we already had for the PlayStation Platinum Trilogy, so I'm very glad I checked. I'm very happy to say this time at Omegas Emporium we came away with 2 games we needed for the PlayStation Platinum Trilogy. That was an absolutely incredible trip to Omegas Emporium in Attleborough, and if you're ever in the area, definitely check it out. And this weekend was the perfect time to visit, as they had buy one get one free on all games under £6. And of course, I did manage to pick up some PlayStation 3 Platinum games, but that's not all. Whilst I was there, it was rude not to pick up a couple of cheap bangers, and first of which is Rapid Racer for the PlayStation 1. Now, I'm a really big fan of all of the kind of PlayStation 1 era racing games. It was just a golden age of racing, but this seems to be a genre of racing games per se. This kind of died, like powerboats. So yeah, really excited to play this one. It's kind of a weird, obscure kind of game, but yeah, for like free essentially, because I also picked up this game, a bona fide banger, no one can deny, Worms Armageddon. To pick up both of these games for just £5 is an absolute bargain. And, you know, I'm all about supporting local independent gaming stores as much as possible. And it just makes it even easier when you can get buy one, get one free on games. Now, of course, I like to support independent gaming stores as much as possible, as well as picking up those buy one get one free games and some PlayStation 3 Platinum games, which we'll get to in a minute. I also picked up some PlayStation 1 games for my collection. I just couldn't resist, especially as one of these games I've never heard of. Now, my wife picked up this game right here, Pax Corpus, and said, do I know anything about this game? And I have never heard of this game before, and she said she just had a feeling we needed to pick it up. And trust me folks, if your wife says she has a feeling we need to pick something up, you need to go along with it. You know what they say, happy wife, happy life. So yeah, we picked up this game. I'm yet to play it, so if you've played it, let me know in the comments down below. I'm kind of intrigued by this one, it looks super cool. And this one, I've heard very good things about this game, but I've never played it. Death Trap Dungeon. Now, this is from the same people who made Tomb Raider back then, so yeah, it's definitely a sign of quality. But what really sold me on this game, it is complete, is you get tiny manual, obviously your mail away, always used to get them. If you've never seen a mail away in a game before, ask your dad. And then we have, this was the thing that really sold me on this game, the bestiary. I like to have this kind of full colour manual with all the monsters from the game, and the artwork in this is absolute fire. And yeah, I've heard really good things about this game. It was missing from my collection, so I just couldn't resist picking it up at Omegas Emporium. Which brings us on to our 2 platinum games we picked up from Omegas Emporium. And honestly, I put this game back as I presumed we had this one, but I presumed wrongly. I cannot believe so far we haven't found Killzone 2. without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most iconic games of the PlayStation 3 era, and another franchise that Sony has essentially left to die. Absolutely fantastic trilogy of games, and yeah, one that Sony needs to bring back. And we had SmackDown 2010 earlier for the PlayStation 2. Now we have SmackDown vs. Raw 2011 for the PlayStation 3. Now, interestingly, this also got a PlayStation 2 Platinum release, and this is the final WWE PlayStation 2 Platinum game which I need, but at least for now we've crossed it off for the PS3. Now, after hitting up Omegas Emporium, I headed on to Thetford CEX, where I found a lot of PlayStation 3 Platinum games, so stick around for that. But first off, we have some games which have been sent in by some of you awesome viewers of the channel, and this is always appreciated, and honestly it warms my heart every time somebody offers to either sell, trade or donate a game for any of these platinum sets I'm trying to fulfill, because honestly, I've said it for nearly 3 years now, I cannot do this without your help. And his first game comes from a viewer of the channel, Darren, who is also selling a lot of PlayStation 2 Platinum games at the moment over on Vinted. So I'll link his store on the side of the video here and in the description down below, as he had some PlayStation 2 Platinum games which I had never seen and I was sorely missing from the collection. He sent me this game, and honestly I am so appreciative of this one, as this is a game which has been so difficult to find and is wrapped really well, so it's very difficult to unwrap. This game is Madagascar 2. Now, this game has not been released here in the UK as far as I know, and this is in absolutely incredible condition. You can tell this has come from the home of a collector. The disc and manual are in absolutely fantastic condition, and it just helps us get one step closer to finding every single PlayStation 2 Platinum game released here in the PAL region, as honestly this one has been an absolute nightmare to find. So massive shout out to Darren for this one. But that's not all. We also have this package here from Matt, who has helped out so much throughout my Platinum collecting adventure. Not just by helping me find games, but also with his incredible inside knowledge of every PlayStation Platinum game that has been released. And he just sent me this package out of the blue, and it is much appreciated. But that's not all. Me and Matt are working on a deal at the moment which, and I do not say this lightly, will change the face of my PlayStation Platinum collecting. Not just for the PlayStation 3, not just for the PlayStation 2, but also for the PlayStation 1. I say this quite a lot, but these games me and Matt are trying to find are the rarest of the rare. These are the holy grail Platinum games. And some of these games are games which I have never seen before, and these will help complete sets. But like I said, this deal is in transition at the moment. It is an ongoing long-term operation, but trust me, it's going to change the face of the PlayStation Platinum Trilogy. But big things coming soon. But first, we have this package from Matt, and it has a note saying, "Hi Dan, I found the enclosed in a box in the loft and thought of you. I think all I have in the loft is an old Christmas tree box, so I wish my loft was full of games. Consider them especially the Platinum game, and amuse-bouche to the bigger box we're currently working on. Hope it helps." I'm sure I probably pronounced that terribly, so I apologise. First off, we have the Greatest Hits Volume 9 PlayStation 2 demos. I must be getting close to a full set of PlayStation 2 demos now. I have so many. And Greatest Hits Volume 7. I think these Greatest Hits volumes were released quite late in the PlayStation 2 life cycle, when there was not as many games coming out, so we're just putting games on these kind of compilations. Then we have here another demo which has Toka Race Driver, Conflict Desert Storm, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. Absolute banger, and I didn't know what game was in here, and this is quite ironic. It is Madagascar 2, and this is the UK release of this game. So massive shout out for this one, Matt. I wasn't expecting this one to come, so apologies to Darren. I now have 2 copies of this game, but yeah, very glad to have a variant of this game, which I said was very hard to find, and now seemingly I have 2 copies. So thank you both for these incredible gifts for the collection. We're ending this episode of the PlayStation Platinum Trilogy in the same place we started at CEX, but this time in Thetford. Now, this is a fairly small CEX store, but like I've said throughout the years on this channel, we do not judge a CEX store by its size, we judge it by its contents. And even though this was a fairly small PlayStation 3 section, unbeknownst to me, this was going to hold a lot of Platinum games, which after the disappointment of Bury St Edmunds was a real game changer. Again, here we have Assassin's Creed 2, the Essentials version. Now, I'm not sure if there's a Platinum version of this game or just the Essentials, but of course at the moment we're on the lookout for Platinums, and a couple of copies of Batman Arkham Asylum, but nothing we need. 3 copies of Batman Arkham Asylum, but then this copy of Batman Arkham City with a lenticular cover. Too cool to leave behind. Very early days here in the PlayStation 3 section at Thetford CEX, but we'd already found a really cool lenticular cover. But of course, we are looking for Platinum games. We're getting into the C section, so slowly making our way through the alphabet, but so far no Platinums we needed. I was checking behind all of these Call of Duties, because that's normally where they hide the Platinum games. As honestly, these are very rarely at the front of the shelves. I presume most people aren't looking for Platinum games, but of course I am, and one we weren't able to pick up in Bury St Edmunds, Oblivion Game of the Year edition, this time with the map, which is something I really wanted, as honestly I just love games which come with physical maps. I'm just trashing the place here, and I managed to find Far Cry 2, another game which quite often comes with a physical map of the game. And I must admit, shout out to Thetford CEX. All of these PlayStation 3 games were an absolutely amazing addition. That's why I cleared up after myself with those games on a shelf there. So we found a couple of Platinums we need so far, but the hunt continues. This is one I haven't seen before in the wild. Heavy Rain Move Edition. Now, it does have the manual, but the question is, will it have the correct Platinum disc? Because like I've said throughout this episode and throughout this series, there's no guarantee you're going to get the Platinum disc, but hopefully with 2 copies of Midnight Club Los Angeles, one of these surely has to have the disc. Only one has the manual, so of course I took the one with the manual. So we are 2/3 of the way through this Platinum section here in Thetford CEX, and another game I've never seen before, Grid Reloaded. Now, I had to look this one up on eBay as I wanted to make sure I got the correct disc for this game, as essentially I think it's like a game of the year which just has some DLC, but I don't want to get the incorrect disc for that game, as it's one I've never seen before and a really good one to cross off the list. And so far we've managed to pick up a small stack of PlayStation 3 games here at Thetford, but coming to the end, it's kind of the last chance to find anything on this episode of the PlayStation Platinum Trilogy, and I'm happy to say here in Thetford we managed to find 5 Platinum games. But as we take it back to the games room for the final time this episode, the question on mine and everyone's lips is how many of these games will have the correct discs. Final Platinum find here at Thetford, Silent Hill 2. Thankfully one I have for the PlayStation 2 Platinum collection, as honestly this is getting more and more expensive, and this is a definitive way to play the survival horror classic. There we have it then, folks. That was our final stop, this time on the PlayStation Platinum Trilogy, and it has been a very successful hunt over the past few weeks for this episode, so let's hope we can end on a high with these final games. Here we are back in the games room for our final pickups, this time on the PlayStation Platinum Trilogy, and our final stop was CEX in Thetford. Now, this is a fairly small CEX store, so I wasn't sure what to expect, but I'm happy to say we managed to pick up some decent Platinum games for the collection. But that's not all. Whenever I'm hunting in CEX, I'm always on the lookout for those cool rarities, oddities, or just cheap little bangers I can pick up. And this time I picked up a cool little oddity with this slipcover version of Batman Arkham City. And I love a cardboard sleeve, but this one's also lenticular. Now, I was a bit worried when I got back to the games room. I actually saw this on the shelf next to me and I thought, great, I picked up a double. But it turns out there's a variant of this variant. There's another version of this slipcase. So yeah, 2 different lenticular covers for this game, as well as the vast number of steelbooks released for this game. This is a game which has so so many variants. But of course, it's all about the PlayStation 3 Platinum games, and this final time we have 4 games to add to the collection, starting off with Midnight Club Los Angeles, the Complete Edition. Now, I'm not sure if this has a separate listing on CEX as a standard version of the game. This is, of course, the Platinum version. It is the Complete Edition. And, yeah, this was when Rockstar was good. Like, this is a fantastic racing game. One I'm really excited to jump into again very, very soon. A very underrated game which more people need to play. Then we have another racing game. Now, this one was a bit of a strange one. Race Driver Grid Reloaded. Again, listed as the standard version of the game. Now, I was a bit concerned as it did have the kind of standard Platinum disc. Good as a Platinum disc, but I wasn't sure if there was a Grid Reloaded specific disc, but I think it's just this piece of paper here which has some DLC. So I did check on eBay, so I think we're good with that one. Then we have one of the greatest RPGs of all time, Elder Scrolls Oblivion Game of the Year for £3.50 is an absolute bargain, and I'm happy to say this one has both the manual and the map. Very happy to have this complete and in very nice condition for the collection. And finally, from CEX in Thetford, don't know why I had so many copies of this game, Virtua Tennis 3 for the princely sum of just £1. Very happy to cross these 4 PlayStation 3 Platinum games off the list, care of CEX Thetford. There we have it then, folks. That was another episode of the PlayStation Platinum Trilogy, and this time we have a mighty 16 PlayStation 3 Platinum games to cross off the list, meaning so far we have found 37 PlayStation 3 Platinum games, meaning there's just 75 left to find. But that's not all. This time we got one step closer to completing the complete PlayStation 2 Platinum collection. And remember, that PS1 Platinum collection is always looming in the background. But every episode we get one step closer to finding every single PlayStation Platinum game ever released. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you join me next time. Hit that like button, subscribe, and until next time, let the games begin. See you all soon.